For today's edition of Dear Mark, I'm answering questions from the comment sections of the recent posts on daily keto carb limits, within meal keto carb limits, and electrolytes. I'm addressing questions about alcohol, uniform carb allowances versus personalized, potassium supplementation, salt appetite, salt water, electrolytes after the transition, whether fruits fit in, and why I don't count above-ground non-starchy vegetables. Without further ado, let's go. How does alcohol count towards the 50 grams of carbs per day? Would that be measured proportionate to the caloric values, ratio 7, A, 4, C, or is it easier to simply ignore alcohol along with the fiber? Alcohol doesn't count as a carb, but I wouldn't ignore it. The body stops burning other macronutrients in the presence of alcohol until the alcohol is metabolized. When you consume alcohol, the body suppresses oxidation of fat, carbohydrates, and protein. The alcohol itself can't really be stored as fat, but its inhibition of traditional fuel oxidation means you're more likely to store rather than burn dietary fat. If you're keeping carbs low to improve body composition, you should definitely take alcohol calories into account. Mark. Why is 50 grams of carbs set as the upper limit for everyone? Wouldn't it make more sense to set the limit using macro percentage? My BMR is roughly 1,300 kilocalories, so 50 grams of carbs corresponds to a macro ratio of 15%, a bit above the suggested 5 to 10%. Is it more important to follow the 50 grams upper limit or the macro percentage? Ease of use. I want to make this as effortless as possible for as many people as possible. And again, it's total carbs, not net, and you're eating whole foods, so a good number of those 50 grams will be fiber and thus indigestible by you. It all seems to balance out in the end and end up lower carb than one might assume by looking at 50 grams of carbs for most people. If people try this and it doesn't work, then they can come with follow-up questions and get the detailed guidance they need. They can get more specific and take the, admittedly small amount of, time to calculate their macros. How about low sodium salt for extra potassium? Not a big fan. Potassium citrate powder seems to work a lot better than potassium chloride, low sodium salt, in several areas. Bone density. Kidney stone formation. It's quite tasteless, whereas potassium chloride's taste is quite distinct. Just make sure you clear potassium supplementation with your doctor, especially if you have or suspect you have kidney health problems. The kidneys excrete excess potassium, and a bad kidney can make potassium supplementation dangerous. I've struggled with postural hypotension since childhood, but it used to be caused mainly by excessive heat.